Hey guys, welcome back to the What About AI podcast. I'm Sean Boyce,
I'm James Perkins.
and today we want to talk about the latest in AI from a models perspective from the big three players, which would be OpenAI's ChatGPT, Claude's various models, Opus and Sonnet, and Gemini and Google.
And we'll call on X and Grok as well.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Number four.
Big three and a
Sorry,
half-ish or
Elon.
big four. Yeah, Elon, I did not mean that personally. Grok as well too, of course. We have played with that also. So, in terms of the latest news that I've heard, curious what's on your radar there. The big one that I'm tracking is from Anthropic, supposedly coming Sonnet 5. I've heard it may be rumored to be codenamed Fennec or something along those lines. So that's sounds relatively new. Sonnet is a household name at this point, but 5 is new. Um, Currently, I think the most recent model that we've both been leveraging would be Opus 4.5, which has been remarkable, especially from a coding perspective. On the OpenAI side, it's been ChatGPT 5.2, I believe, and thinking model as well, and then Codex for coding, which has been also helpful. And then Google's Gemini's got a bunch of different options as well too, in addition to Grok, like you mentioned. So, I'm curious, what do you got your eyes on?
Well, we've been using all of them for
Yep.
at least the past year. I mean, I could say for the past 5 years, but it's crazy how much it's changed and how fast it's changing. I'm having trouble keeping up myself. Right now, I'm using Grok mostly for the latest news because it can pull X very quickly and get all the posts about a certain topic, and that's just part of its native intelligence. But for most like work functions,
Hmm.
I think anything code related, anything you're building with code so far, Opus 4.5 has been unmatched for at least a month and a half, two
Unbelievable.
months,
So
right?
good.
Just in the beginning of December, I think that came out and it's blown everything else away. The latest release of Codex, so ChatGPT by OpenAI has GPT 5.2. Sean mentioned the thinking model. That's been out for probably about a month, maybe a little bit less. We're having trouble keeping track of time. It's changing so fast. But their Codex model and thinking just increased speed by 40%. So if you were playing with ChatGPT 5.2 and you're like, oh, it's taking forever to get a response, it was very thorough, but it was taking like 10, 15 minutes,
Yeah.
which nowadays feels insane. But in reality, 15 minutes to access all of the world's knowledge. Come on, guys.
Right.
Now it's much faster. They just released that in this past week, and it's noticeable. On the Claude side, back to Anthropic, Claude Opus 4.6, I think is going to come a little bit slower to us than
Sounds
Sonnet
right.
5. But Sonnet 5 is supposed to have considerable improvements for coding and for all things language, like written text. So that's just crazy to think about.
It
Because
is.
if you remember the improvement from Sonnet 4 to Opus 4.5, it was like night and day. Sonnet would make 10 mistakes in a request.
Yep.
Opus 4.5 hardly makes a mistake. They're saying Sonnet 5 is a similar leap. I can't even imagine what that's going to be like.
It's
And it's this week
incredible.
or next.
It's unbelievable how
Yeah,
this stuff continues to progress seemingly exponentially.
it
Because
does.
I remember the biggest change I remember from the perspective of coding was Sonnet 4.5. Using Sonnet 4.5, that's when I finally felt that I could rely on the AI agent or model basically to do almost everything. Maybe not everything, but almost everything, and in a fairly predictable way. And then I remember we were working on also Opus 4.1 at the time, and that was significantly better, but you
Hmm.
would burn through your tokens crazy fast, and it was difficult to really get much traction with it. You had to reserve it for certain use cases because you just didn't have enough capacity, almost on whatever plan you were on, unless you wanted to go like metered billing or something like that, which could get really expensive really fast. And then with Opus 4.5, that was a similar significant jump. Now leveraging that for coding, that blows Sonnet 4.5 out of the water. So I can't imagine what they have in store for 5. That's going to
Oh,
be wild. I'm excited to test that out. I don't even know how much further they can even push that thing. And then on Google's side, Gemini, seen some interesting stuff there. And then also Grok, I'll mention. But on the Gemini side, Nano Banana, I think it is that I've used a bit in order to create some really interesting looking AI type images, like taking existing images and transforming them in
it's
different ways.
amazing.
And it actually looks like pretty real, pretty hard to, it's very, fairly like almost indistinguishable. I also went down a rabbit hole of trying to do videos because I know we were playing around with that as well too. And for the most part, a lot of it was basically unusable or pretty recognizable as though it was AI or it wasn't real.
If you were under 50. Yeah.
Uh, Also, yes, fair. But in terms of where I did see some remarkable stuff, definitely Grok, actually. Grok for sure was capable of producing some pretty impressive stuff relatively quickly and with a decent amount of capacity as well, also. Especially for, I think I was just free. I don't think it was, I was using a paid version of it, but for what it was producing was looking really good and really realistic really quickly. In addition to Sora, I think it was Sora 2 that I was playing with as well, too. That was also very impressive, opening
Yeah,
eyes.
I think from the big shops, the most impressive image generation models are Grok's Imagine
Mm.
and Gemini 3's Nano Banana Pro.
Yeah, Pro is a big
So
difference. Yeah.
as we talk through all these different platforms and the new things coming out, they're not available general availability to everybody all at once. Typically, they roll out their best models, their latest models to the Pro and Max tiers. So if you're paying $20 a month, you should get access to most things. But almost every one of those solutions has a $200 a month plan,
Yeah.
which gives you immediate access as soon as it rolls out. Those will be the first plans to see Opus 4.6 and Sonnet 5 and Nano Banana Pro 2. And so that's kind of, we're seeing that stuff as it comes out. We have the max plans of every single one of those. Another big image generation one to call out is Midjourney. If you haven't seen that before,
Also good.
it's most people find it challenging because you can only access it through Discord, and
Yeah,
you
it
can
needs a
do
bunch
local
of it.
deployments, but it's kind of confusing for
Cumbersome.
folks. So most people are just doing image generation, like you said, in the actual apps, in the
Mhm.
native apps. And if you're doing that, you can't go wrong with Grok or Google Gemini.
Definitely. Yeah, well said. I think a good topic probably to cover here as well too, because if you're keeping track at home, we've thrown a lot at you so far. A lot of companies, a lot of models, not just one from every company, usually multiple versions, and then different use cases as well. We're talking about video generation, image generation, coding, language, all this type of stuff. I'd be curious if what recommendations you would have for folks in terms of how many of these they should be tracking, what they should be considering potentially leveraging each for, and how they should kind of go about trying to stay on top of all this stuff in terms of like these changes and using the latest and greatest and all that kind of stuff.
That's a good question. I would say if you are building something, you cannot go wrong with Anthropic Claude.
Definitely.
There's so many tools that are designed for business that, and so many integrations with business platforms. They're basically kind of taking their corner of the market as the business corner of the
Yeah.
market.
Free play as well.
It is. They're going to do well, and they have some commercials coming out during the Super Bowl
Those are
where
awesome.
they're basically showing that they're not doing ads. They are hilarious. It's basically a jab at Sam Altman and OpenAI for ChatGPT.
Definitely watch those.
They're pretty funny.
So good.
But I would say, yeah, for business, you have to go Anthropic Claude. If you're not using it, you should at least try it soon. For all things general information, I mean, if you would normally do a Google search, you should immediately replace that with Google Gemini because
Fair.
it has access to the entire index of World Wide Web knowledge that Google uses for its search functions and algorithms, but it has it in AI form. And it can personalize your data. So if you're using Gmail today, or you have an Android phone, or you have a lot of Google products in your life, you cannot go wrong with Gemini. You can actually bring all that data in now and personalize your deployment of Gemini. So it's gotten insane in regards to like personal life,
Yep.
personal satisfaction. If you're using AI for the latest and greatest news, or you're trying to track sentiments like the day trading we talked about stocks in a previous podcast, you basically have to stick to Grok. You're not going to get up to the minute, down to the wire news any other way. And you'd be surprised how many people post things on Grok before it hits anything else,
Good point.
or on X rather. So Grok is good for that purpose. Also, if you're looking to build a relationship with a virtual sex bot, so to speak, Grok has some new avatars where people are actually developing relationships with the avatar, having like full-on conversations and dates and everything else. I read some recently someone married one of the avatars.
Wow.
They have done well with that. When it first came out, I was like, "Oh, this is such a gimmick," but it's crazy. People are actually really going deep down that well. If you're looking for medical advice that's not from your doctor, if you're looking for pulling together a lot of data from different documents and files and kind of using that with research, coupled with research, I found ChatGPT to be best at that. So it has a built-in health function where it integrates all of your health apps, all of your lab results, and everything else. It also has pretty wide array of plugins and extensions. So if you're looking for deeper research, so far that seems to be ChatGPT's niche.
Hmm.
That's kind of the breakdown in my mind.
Yeah, that makes sense. I've used deep research quite a bit, and those results have been pretty impressive. I don't know if you talked coding much yet. Did we add coding in there yet? Should we add that one?
We can, yeah. If you're going, I mean, we are going deep in coding. We do it every day.
Definitely.
So if you're going deep down that well, Claude Anthropic, or Anthropic's Claude product, specifically their command line interface and Claude code, are insane. You can do so much so fast. And if you have the max plan, you really, I mean, unless you're a beast, you're not going to hit your limit every day.
Yeah, fair.
Codex is also really impressive. So
Yep.
ChatGPT Codex, I found to be really, really good at InfoSec compared to the others. So if you're worried about the security of your app or the feasibility of what you're building and whether or not it actually is safe to put online, I'd run it through Codex first.
Hmm.
And then if you're looking for a one shot, I found, so Google has Gemini. They also have anti-gravity with Gemini 3. Give me one second. Anti-gravity with Gemini is great at one-shotting. It's super fast. You can give it a prompt. If you give it a detailed prompt, it'll spit something out within 5 minutes every single time. But it has a pretty high miss rate too.
Yeah.
So if you say, build me an entire platform to track my health data for my watch, it'll build it. And then when you go to use it, you'll find all the things that are broken. If one of the flows I've used in the past is kind of one-shot it with Gemini and anti-gravity, then refine it with Claude code,
Hmm.
and then pass it through Codex for InfoSec. And then I have all of them kind of cross confer with each other, and it's very effective.
It's cool. Yeah, I mean, you can basically build your own team, not just team, almost like teams of teams. They've all got their
Yeah.
respective different approaches and styles and levels of experience and whatnot. So if you're building whatever you're building, test a few. That's kind of what I do as well too. I also go and use different types of tools built for specific use cases. Like I'm a big fan, and I'm always talking about Lovable and like magic patterns and V0 and tools like it, which basically
John knows I love Lovable.
I'm a big fan. Not a sponsor, but I'm a big fan. I'd be happy to be a sponsor. I'm not. I like it from a speed perspective, and it's basically what they're all doing is they're taking from the latest and greatest of the models underneath that James just mentioned, and they're trying to make them more specialized for a specific use case. In this case, all the ones I just mentioned are for designing and building a UI on software, basically. So doing the front end work. And what's great about it, and for a lot of the work that we've been doing for the tech we've been building, is I'll take the same spec and I'll feed it into all three, and then I'll review the results of each to see which one effectively kind of I like the best. And it's not always consistent. Sometimes one does better than sometimes another does. But I will usually move forward from there with whatever one that I like. Basically, you could do the same thing, testing out a number of these different models with whatever it is you're trying to do. So the good news is we've got a lot of options. So play around and go with what works best.
Well, I would add to that. So a couple things. One, if you don't know anything about development or coding, Lovable is the best place to start. It's
Great
so
place to
simple.
start.
It's ridiculously easy to use. It has a lot of gaps that I've identified. And Sean and I disagree on this sometimes. But it's if you haven't done it before, that's where you should get started for sure.
Definitely.
And then I would add, you mentioned like teams of agents. There's actually a function coming in Sonnet 5 and the next version of Opus called swarms. It kind of sort of exists now, but you can assign like 20 different tasks to different agents and they'll swarm the tasks.
Yeah.
And things that would take like 3 weeks to get done, you can do in 2 hours or less. It's insane.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's kind of like setting up a team with all respective unique skills, but to work together on solving that task. And they work with each other, and then they bring you back the result. Is kind of the idea. So it's
Yeah,
going to
and
be
you
really
can
cool
even
and fun
build
to
an
test.
agent to orchestrate the agents.
Totally, yeah.
So it's
Gets very
getting to the point now where
conceptual.
it's yeah, it's very sci-fi.
Too cool. Well, I think we've geeked out on this topic enough, but I know we could talk about this all day. Anything else we should mention before we wrap up?
No, have fun coding, guys. Have
Yeah.
fun building.
And if thinking about staying on top of all this stuff sounds overwhelming, and I'm sure it is, sometimes it is for us, our newsletter would be a good place to kind of catch a lot of this because we share everything there as well too. We filter basically all of the news and separate the noise so that you guys can get just down to brass tacks and better understand what the key takeaways are.
Yeah, and I would
So
throw out that's not AI generated. Like we actually go through every single news article and event that we evaluate together and decide how it applies to each industry. and give a human tact to a little bit of the AI
Yeah,
world.
fair.
It's
Yeah,
pretty cool.
it's nice, nice touch. Awesome. Thanks for tuning in, guys.
Thanks all.